Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little bit different Christmas card using various Tim Holtz products, including paper. Okay, to start, I am going to be using the new Dash Away die. That was a gift from Simon Says Stamps. I'm going to be using an older die, which is Alpine. I know there's a newer one out there, but I don't have it, so I'm going to be using this one. I am going to be using a moon mask, and I'm looking for it here. Yeah, I think it's still in my binder, so I'm going to grab my binder out. Since I'm not finding it in this pile, I could have sworn I got it out, but apparently I didn't. And nope, because there it is. I'm going to be using the Tim Holtz Moon Mask stencil. And I might use these mini stencils right here. I haven't made up my mind yet. I get something in my head and I think, well, we'll see. And then we'll either do it or we won't. So let me get all this stuff out of the way here. And I'm going to be using a piece of watercolor paper because I am going to be getting wet. You don't necessarily have to have watercolor paper, but I am. So that's that. And I am going to trim it down to the size I need so that I get my color placement correct. And so I'm going to trim it to 5 1/4 by 4. Because I do want a border around the edge. And this will be an A2 size card, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And it'll be top folding landscape. So what I want to do here is I want to start to add some color to this, but I'm going to need to lay my moon mask down first so that I've got a space there for the moon. And I'm going to color this with some kind of muted blues. And I'm going to start here with Stormy Sky. But before I do, I better get that mask on, right? So let's grab it. And I'm grabbing, it looks like the medium-sized one. I've not even opened this pack because I still have the one from the stamped timber. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of mint tape and just kind of roll it on itself and stick this down so it doesn't move on me. I'm still going to hold it with my finger, but I don't necessarily always trust my fingers, so I'm going to just give myself a little booster and just a tiny piece. You could use washi tape if you have it. This is just, I have the mint tape on hand, and I don't have a lot of washi tape, and the stuff I have, I want to hoard. I don't want to use it and then throw it away. So I'm going to start at the bottom here with the Stormy Sky, and I'm just going to grab a blending brush for my Oxides. And this will be using all Oxides, by the way, for this portion. And I'm going to go ahead and just start blending the color on. And this watercolor paper is, it's B brand. It's from Walmart. It's cheap. It's cheap stuff. And it works just fine, so I'm perfectly happy with it because I go through a lot of watercolor paper, making backgrounds and stuff like that. So I'm just going to get that color on, and then I'm going to find my faded jeans because, again, I'm trying to keep this toned down. I don't want it brightly colored at all. And I will take the faded jeans and lay it on the, basically the second third of the image and blend it in really well. And I'm trying to do this gently because something happened and my table got loose somewhere and I just haven't fixed it yet. So it wiggles when I ink blend and stuff, which is fine. It doesn't bother me, but it's definitely annoying for the person watching. And I'm not too worried about that corner down there because I'm actually planning on covering it up. And then I'm going to top this off with some chipped sapphire. So that'll be my darkest shade in here. So nope, none of the new colors. And as much as I do love them, I am trying to, again, keep this toned down. So these kind of, they're kind of cool, kind of neutral colors. just going to gently kind of just rub this on, and there I've got myself kind of an ombre there with my moon. And I do need to I'm going to go ahead and pick this up and kind of wipe off my mat. Carefully pick up my moon with my tweezers. So that's white. We're not going to keep it white, but I do want to clean up my mess here before I move on to another color, because definitely I'm somebody that's going to get ink on everything. So I'll move my picture back, and I'm going to grab some antique linen to color in my moon. And just grab my, I think I'm going to use a finger blending brush for this. Got to find my oxide finger blenders here. And I got out my ground espresso because it's going to be my grunge color today. Where are you? Where is my finger blender? I can see, there we are. I put them away somewhere and now they're away and I can't find them. So I'm going to grab the yellow one. And I'm just going to wipe it off to make sure there's no like bright yellow on there, because this is kind of a, you know, a neutral color here. I'm just going to kind of go around the edge of the moon there and leave the center kind of white. And it doesn't matter if I go outside the lines, but I don't want to, you know, don't want to gunk it up too much. And then I'm going to take the other portion of the moon mask, the portion that gives you the texture, and I'm going to lay it on there, and I'm going to use the same color, just going to go a little heavier with it. So you'll see. I'm just kind of dabbing that in and rubbing it around so it comes in darker. So these will be those shadows we see on the moon. Some people see a rabbit. I see a rabbit. I don't know about you. But that gives it kind of a realistic feel. So we're pretty much done with our background, but we do have the little stars die, and I do want to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut that out, and I'm going to back it with something else. So typically you would back it with, you know, like a silver or a gold mirror cardstock or something like that. But I'm going, you know, I'm going different on this one. So what I'm trying to do is arrange these so that, you know, my Santa is going to cover part of them so that they don't actually cover the moon. And I do run them through my die cutting machine back and forth because my experience is the watercolor paper is kind of heavy. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got this cut out, and I'm going to grab my little foam, whatever you want to call this thing, piece of foam. And I'm going to pull the die off, and I can see that it's cut through. And so I'm going to use my little Sizzix tool. And by the way, I did find my magnet, for those of you that watched the video where I complained about my lost magnet. I found it. I don't remember where I found it. Someplace really off the wall. It must have flown there or something. And the ones that don't come out, I'm just going to poke through with my little pokey tool. Yeah, so it's not too tedious if they cut right, but if they don't, it's a little bit of a fight. So I'm just double checking, make sure they're all cut out, making sure there's nothing sticking up on the back, because I'm going to be sticking something behind that. And I'm happy with that. Let me just move my little stars out of the way, and I'm going to dump those off into the garbage. Normally I would keep them, but generally I'm not going to use blue stars. And I'm just going to see if this will fit somewhere else, but it's really not going to, so I'm just going to set it aside. And there's still more things that I intend to do to this background, so we're going to go ahead and get going on that. Let me just clean up any mess I've got here. And, you know, I think I'll first go ahead and cut my other pieces. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and decorate my background first. So first I'm just going to get water with my fan brush, and I'm just going to tap water onto the whole background. I'm kind of avoiding the moon, but not entirely. I just want to get a little bit of variation of color here. Pull some color out, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to wipe up my mess here and gonna kind of let that dry for a minute. I don't really want to dab up or anything. There's a little goober on my paper. So once that's dry, then I'm going to choose, while I'm waiting, I'm going to choose what I want to back with. And so I have this paper pad that I just got yesterday, and I love, love, love Tim Holtz paper pads. You can see I've already been playing with it. And decide how I want to back this. And yeah, I think I want to back it with that paper. So I'm just going to cut off a little piece of it. Check the measurement again. I can see I can trim some more off, so I'm going to trim some more off and save it for something else. Because you can use those tiny pieces for all kinds of tiny die cuts or, you know, anything. So I've got that picked out. Let me go ahead and put this back away. We'll be revisiting that shortly. And I'm just going to dab up that little bit of excess water with my finger. And I'm going to go ahead and just glue this little piece on. Now this whole thing's going to get glued onto, you know, another piece of cardstock. So I'm not concerned with, you know, this sticking up. And it doesn't stick up. It's not super thick paper, so it doesn't stick up too bad. Now I just thought, you know, let's do something a little bit different here. And I think you saw my deer, where I did my deer in pattern paper, which wasn't like normal pattern paper. It was Tim Holtz pattern paper. And I thought it came out really cool, so I thought I'd try this again. So now I've got my stars backed. And I honestly, in the long run, you can't really see them very well. I probably should have chosen a lighter color paper, but it's fine. I'm good with it. We'll survive. So next thing I need to do is I need to start cutting out my components that are going to go onto here. So I'm going to kind of look closely at this and kind of look at the colors, and then I'm going to pull out my paper pad again and make a decision on colors for my Santa Claus and stuff. And I need something that's gonna, you know, fit nicely in color-wise. So I just start laying my paper on and looking at some of the different patterns. I'm thinking music, but no, we're going for words. Because it's light and it'll show up against the backdrop, so that, you know, that's something I'm thinking about when I do this is it going to show up? Because if I'm doing, you know, a color too close to the color range that my background is, it won't show up. So I'm just going to decide where I want to lay this, how I want the words to look. And I'm just going to trim off the piece of paper. And just kind of move this around until I find a placement that I'm happy with. I wish I could get that curiosity in there, but I'm sure it will cut out. So we'll have to just, too bad, use it for something else. I'm just going to go ahead and trim this off, and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine. Now I'm going to run that through, and then I'm going to run 2 white pieces through. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got all my little pieces cut out here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my artist tack. And this is I keep the top sheet, is one that I know that I've used, and you could mark it, but I just kind of know in my brain where I've used it already. And you can kind of, if you look closely, you can see it. I'm just going to open this out, and I want to get it all in a fresh area. So the sticky part down, and I just kind of fold and crease this right here. And I'm going to lay one of my reindeer and Santa sets down and fold back down that backing paper and just burnish it down with my finger. And that'll pick up all the little sticky dots in there. And then I like to kind of bend the artist tack, kind of like you would do on your Cricut machine, so that that'll pick off easily. And I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to stick these two white ones together. And I just want to lay it on there so it's fairly even as I can get it, being me. And maybe that's you too. This one I got pretty well first try. I'm kind of proud. Just fix that little hoof there. And then I'm just going to press down to make sure it sticks. And give it a good press. And now I'm going to do the same thing with my pattern piece. And I'm going to set it down a little ways from the last one I did. Do the same exact thing, just burnish it in, get all those little sticky dots stuck to it, and then just pull off the back and bend it over, because this paper is really delicate and I don't want to bend those delicate little pieces. So I just kind of bend that back and pull this off carefully. And I'm going to go ahead and just stick this onto the other two. Now he's a little bit more difficult to stick on because, again, this is thinner paper. I use the Accent Opaque 120 pound for the backer pieces. And I am going to be edging this, so because I don't want any white showing through. And sorry about that, I forgot to turn my volume down on my computer. There we go. I just kind of pinch together the small pieces to make sure they're kind of together, and pinch down, look, check it over, make sure everything's stuck down, and see if I like the way it looks. Hopefully I do. And I do. I mean, you can change this up any way you want to. It's just something different. I'm going to go ahead and use just this whole piece with the backer on it to kind of help burnish that down. And then I'm going to be using ground espresso distress oxide again for my distressing today. So I'm going to take my little brush. I'm looking for my little brush. Where'd it go? I'm use the same one that I used the yellow on. And I'm just going to edge this and see that little itty bitty piece wanted to curl away from me. So I take my tweezers and just kind of pinch it together and get it stuck down best I can. I probably stretched it out, taking it off the artist tack. And I'm just going to edge this whole thing with the ground espresso, including in and around the little crevices and stuff. I rather enjoy this. I get pretty dirty doing it, and I don't care. I like it. And you don't have to use the finger brush. You could use any kind of blender you have. I'm just using it because it's handy and right there. So I'll take it. Just getting around all the white parts best I can to kind of cover up that backing, the backing that I made for it. But this really does reinforce it, and it gives it an option to stand out, because I can't even imagine trying to put those foam tapes on there. That would be a nightmare. I'm not into nightmares. And I'm just going to go a little heavy around the bottom of the sleigh there, because that's where most of the white shows through. Okay, I'm happy with that. Looks good. Let's see how it's going to look on here. Yep, you're going to be able to see it. That's what's important to me. And now I need to work on my other components. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off this ink here. And I'm going to pull out the Alpine. And I'm just going to dump all the pieces here that I'm going to need onto my mat. Make sure I didn't forget any. And I'll be doing this also on my Vagabond too, because it won't fit through my my little sidekick. So I need to pick some papers for my mountains. And I kind of like this postage stamp one. It's colorful, so I'm going to pick that one. I'm just going to trim the piece out. Leave a little bit of leeway so that I don't So if it slips on me, and it will, I can, I still have a little wiggle room. Okay, so that's good. And you notice I have the picture set up in front of me. And the reason I have that is so that I can select my papers kind of, you know, where snow would be, or, you know, the mountain tops. And I like that color against there, but I think I'm going to save that for something else. I think I want something much lighter, so that it would appear to be, you know, weird snow. So I'm going to choose for this one. This is the piece that I know goes there. So I'm going to choose this lighter color for it. And let's see here. That's also a top. Okay. I'm just going to pick up these trees and move them out of my way. Little piece of paper there, can't seem to pick up. Yeah, I love the bottom of this thing for picking these up. It's so much easier than trying to, because the silicone mat is kind of sticky, like not sticky like glue sticky, it's just, the stuff doesn't like to move. That's one thing I like about it. So I'm going to pick another paper for this part of the mountains. So I pick all these out before I start cutting, and I'm going to go ahead and use the lighter piece since there's room on there for this portion as well. And I'm going to put my paper away, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and I'll be right back. Okay, now I've got all my pieces cut out. I'm going to go ahead and put away the ones that I've already used and don't need any longer. Try and grab that one. I'm going to move my trees out of my way here, because I'm going to go ahead and assemble these mountains, and I'm going to go ahead and grunge up the pieces. Let's get that little extra piece off of there we don't need. And again, I'll be going in with my espresso, ground espresso. I'm just going to pick this up, and I'm just going to kind of just swipe along the edges there. It's easy to do on the bigger pieces, not that easy to do on the smaller, so you'll see what I do with those. But I want each piece to stand out from the other piece, so that's part of how I can do this, because the colors are, you know, fairly similar, the tones and things like that. So I want this to stand out, and I don't want any white edges. There's a fly in here. Sorry about that. I don't know what the beasts have gone crazy. I had to have Mike kill a stink bug, and I thought they were gone, but it got warm, and so they all think they need to be doing what they do. So the flies are buzzing, and the stupid stink bugs are terrorizing me. I need them all to freeze to death, please. So on the smaller pieces, I'm just leaving it on my mat, because it is kind of, like I said, sticky, so it kind of holds them down. Depending on the paper, this paper seems to have some sort of a, it's very smooth, I guess, is what I want to say. So it does move around a little bit easier. So I'm just doing these. This one's big enough that I can do it by hand. I've heard people mention other kinds of bugs. Out here in Alabama, especially, I don't know, my house, and I think it has something to do with the tree in front of my house. The stink bugs come in and just terrorize me every spring and fall. And those things, I mean, I am seriously terrified of them, and they don't bite. So I'm going to go ahead and put my picture in front of me. Let me move this piece so I can see it, so that I kind of have a guide of where things go. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just start to assemble this where the things go. So these stink bugs, like, I'll look up, I'll be sitting here or doing something, all of a sudden there's one sitting there staring at me, and they freak me out. So I have to scream for Mike to come get it. I did make a trap once, and I would trap them myself, but I don't have a trap anymore, so Mike comes and gets them with a piece of tissue paper and sends them down the water slide. That's how he likes to call it. Because you can't, if you smash them, they'll let off this horrible stench. And like if you try to, they get so bad that I have a special vacuum just for them, because they'll hide in curtains and stuff like that. And I'll just vacuum them all up, and then I'll set the vacuum outside. Because when you vacuum them up, they make that smell, and it is, ugh. I remember one time I went to work, and one was in my purse, and I was working, and I could smell a stink bug, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a stink bug around here somewhere. It was in my purse. I'm like, oh my gosh. And when they emit their smell, it takes forever to dissipate. It's almost like a skunk. So I'm just gluing the components down onto here, using my tweezers and just carefully laying them into place. Enough about my horror stories. I'm ready for them to go. So I haven't started decorating for Christmas, and I don't know that I actually will. December is kind of a rough month for me and Mike. And so, you know, I've got a little 18-inch black fiber optic Christmas tree that I might drag out of the closet and put in my office. But I just, you know, for the last couple of years, haven't felt like celebrating, so I don't. And so, yeah, I'm taking time off work because I'm just kind of down, but it'll be okay. I mean, this is typical. I'm used to it. This is what happens. And, you know, the past two, this Christmas and last Christmas, were especially rough. So I'm keeping myself busy, trying to make videos and just do some things I love. That's how my therapist recommends to live my life. Do the things I love. So I love doing this. I'm going to get this piece on here. And I actually enjoy making the videos too, even, you know, with the voiceovers and stuff like that, because, and the reason I don't do them, the reason I do voiceovers is because a lot of life happens around here, and sometimes Mike's language isn't the cleanest, so I just don't want, you know, that kind of thing to happen during my videos and, you know, offend anyone. And I know there's probably 85 to 95% of you that would just laugh and not be offended at all. But, you know, I care about all of my viewers, so I'm going to be careful about that. Not to mention dogs and cats and all the craziness. So there, I've got my little mountain setup going here. So let's go ahead and grab our background again and start looking at placement. So I'm going to be covering the moon and make sure Santa and his reindeer, you know, are highlighted. That I'll likely cut off portions of that mountain on the side there because I don't want to cover my whole moon, and I want my spacing to be good on my card. So far, so good. Now I just need to do my trees. And I think I'm going to do 5 little trees. So I'm going to grab my paper up again. And I'm going to pick some papers. I love these little clocks, so I think that I'm going to cut my trees out of clocks. Just to be crazy. And I like the green clock up there. So I'm just going to pick these up out of the way so I can move my paper down and just I'm just going to lay them on there just to eyeball placement. Okay, yep, I like that there. And this one, maybe I'll put down here. I'm going to go ahead and just let those slide off and cut my paper. And for this, I believe I'm going to go ahead and use my sidekick. I'm going to trim a little bit of this off. Actually, I don't need to trim any off. I just need to be mindful of my placement here. I'm going to grab my sidekick plates, and I'm going to grab my magnet and move my trees out of the way and drop one. and easily pick it up with a magnet. And I'm just going to pull my mat up here so I can stick my sidekick down in frame. It doesn't stick to the mat. It does, but it no. I just like it better on glass. I feel more secure. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, and I'm flipping it upside down because I'm, you know, the one piece is hanging over, but I don't really want to trim it off just yet. So I'm going to lay my trees down where I want them. And I want to capture some of that green in there. And I'm not going to tape them down or anything. I'll just carefully set my top plate on top. I'm going to move that down a little bit so it doesn't, so it'll go through the machine, because if it goes all the way to the edge, it won't go. And I don't really like to call it a machine because it's not, well, it is mechanical, but it's a hand crank, so I'm going to call it an apparatus. I'm going to go ahead and just get my trees out, and then I'll be choosing another piece of paper to cut a couple more. I'm just going to kind of move those out of my way, just set them off to the side. I really enjoy my sidekick. It's one of my favorite things I have because I can keep it right here on the desk. It doesn't take up a bunch of space, and I can just grab it and quickly cut small things. And when you're doing a project like this, there are a lot of small components. So let me just grab this paper and see if I want a tree out of that. Okay, maybe there. Maybe one right here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and cut those out. And it's not important how they're sitting on there. As long as they're covered with paper, we're good to go. Sorry about that. Mike woke up. It's real early in the morning right now while I'm doing this voiceover, and greeted me. So I stopped the audio recording and started over here. So I've got my trees. I'm going to go ahead and just lay them out on my little mat here. These all together, make sure they're together, and just dump these out on the mat. And then I'm going to put away my sidekick plates, and I'm going to put away my trees. Just grab them with the magnet, dump them in, and I'm done with this die set. So now I've got trees, and I haven't glued anything down yet. I have to decide on placement. And I'm not going to glue anything down because I still have something more I want to do to the background. I just kind of want to eyeball how I want these to look. So I'm going to set everything aside here. All the pieces, all the components that go to my card. And I'm picking them up with tweezers because I don't want to accidentally bend them. And I am going to do some splattering on this background. So I'm going to get my box, and I'm going to get some paint. So I'm going to use some distress paint. And I believe I'm going to be either using the tarnished brass or the antique bronze. Let's see here. I'm trying to grab them here. And I think I'll go with the tarnished brass. And I don't want to get any on any of my other components, which is why I'm getting out my little box here. And you can see it's a well-loved box. I think it's the last one I have like this. I'm going to lay that down, and then I'm going to take that little piece, mask piece, and lay it on top of the moon because I don't want splatters on my moon. And I'm just going to take a little bit of paint, shake it up really good because it does need to be, you know, mixed before you can do it. And I'll just pour a little bit, lid's kind of tight. All right, let's pour a little bit onto my little piece of acrylic block, and then just spray a little bit of water on there. Oops, that's my water back behind there causing my box to shut on me. My mask moved. Okay, get it back in place. Put a little bit of water. I'm going to take my fan brush and mix that with the water. And I'm just going to start splatting down with the gold. Well, the gold color, the antique bronze. Oh, I forget which one I picked. Whatever. You saw. And what I'm doing is just laying out more stars. It's not going to be snow necessarily because, yeah. And then I'm going to do the same with some distressed mica. I'm just going to spray it onto this little acrylic block. And this is the flickering candle. And you can't really see it very well unless you're actually holding the card and looking at it. But it definitely gives that little shimmer factor that I'll pull in again later. And I'm not too worried about the bottom or the right-hand side because I'll be covering that with the mountain. But we are going to let that dry completely. And once it's dry, I'm going to take out my decal trimmer and I'm going to trim the edges. And you'll see here I fight a little bit with my decal trimmer. It doesn't, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure why it does that, but, well, of course I've got 2 pieces of paper there, so I'm just going to move it till it does cut. Doesn't matter, right, because it's a deckled edge. But if it fights me, I just scoot it up. I'm going to do each side. Okay. I'm going to move those pieces aside. I save all those little pieces for projects. So now I've got my background and it's about dry enough here and just kind of getting rid of some of that excess paper there. I'm going to find my distress color that I'm using, which is the ground espresso, and I'm going to distress the edges of this quite a ways down. So I really want to distress it up, and I want to make sure I'm covering up all those white edges. I want to be careful not to get any on my moon. If I get a little bit, no big deal. I mean, it's distressed, right? It's just a card. It's just a piece of paper. And just kind of blend this in because, again, I'm trying to tone down, mute the colors. And get a little bit of darkness in with those stars if I can. Probably should have done those beforehand, but yeah, hindsight 2020, right? And I did practice this one. I did it a little bit differently and I messed it up pretty bad, so I did learn from those mistakes. I tried to cover my mess with a glitter globs, but it really just looked like a mess with glitter globs. So, you know, sometimes you can cover up your mess and sometimes you should just cut and run. Use those other pieces for other projects, which is exactly what I'll do. So now I've got this all kind of darkened down the way I want it. And it's coming time to get this thing assembled. So I'm just going to clean up my mess here. And I am going to grab a card base. And I'm not sure what I'm going to use. But I believe I'm most likely going to be using a craft card base. Because I love craft card bases. Yeah. And you see I've got a little edge sticking out because, yeah. That's me. I made these, so I'm going to trim that off. And plus, it'll give it a neat little effect along the bottom because I'm going to trim it with my decal trimmer. And since it's a double piece, it's fighting me a little bit, but I'm good. And then I'm going to save those little pieces too. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue down my card panel. Excuse me, to the card base. And I'm just going to use regular liquid adhesive. Oh, coffee. It's early in the morning. Looks like the sun's trying to peek through, though. That makes me happy. It's been dreary. And I let my glue sit too long. It clogged up on me, so let me go ahead and unclog it. This is just liquid adhesive. You can use anything you want. You can use tape if you want to, but I do recommend liquid adhesive when you've got another piece stuck to it. And this is going to go landscape, top fold. I'm just going to press it down, clean off any excess that ran out, and then I'm going to look at my placement again. So I will be trimming off the side of the mountain, as I said before. And golly, I'm about to sneeze. No sneezing, not right now. And I do want to leave a little bit of that deckled edge showing through. So I'm going to go ahead and get my liquid adhesive and glue this thing down. And it's 4:30 in the morning when I'm doing this video, while I'm recording it. I woke up because I went to bed at like 8 o'clock last night. And my body will only let me sleep so long. You know, you get old, you get stiff. And so I have to get up and move around, so that's what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim off this excess. I forgot that it was several layers of paper, so it's kind of a little bit hard to do, but not impossible at all. But now see, I've got a white edge, so I'm going to take my little brush that already has the ground espresso on it and just scrunch that up there. Okay, so we've got our mountain on. Now we're going to get our Santa and his reindeer on, and I kind of want to know where I want the placement of that. I'm going to put glue on the major portions. I'm not going to put glue on the feet or the antlers because, no, it's too much. And kind of lay this down, and I want his foot can be next to the mountain, but not over it. So there we go. Happy with that. Make sure everything's good and stuck down. And now I have to decide on the placement of my trees. I'm going to take the first tree, and I do use my tweezers, and looks like I'm probably going to want to kind of tuck that a little bit up underneath the rungs of the sleigh, and I'm going to grunge this one up. I don't grunge any of the rest of them up. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. Look how dirty I am. I'm a mess. Well, I can't be asked to stop in between and clean up, except for if I've got wet ink that's going to be a problem. So do I want the tree there? No, don't really like it there. Yeah, I like it right here. Yeah, perfect. That's where that one's going. Which is part of the reason why I left the rungs open on the Santa. Just gonna add some liquid adhesive. I'm gonna tuck that up under, press it down. Grab another tree, decide on placement. Yep, I like it there. This little Alpine set is very cute. I like it. I've used it a lot of times for different scenarios. Okay, I'm just going to lay him a little over the top of the other one. He's got his little number showing through. Wipe off any excess glue. Let's grab this one, and do I want it on the mountains? Nope. Yeah, that'll work. So the tree, I think I would need an actual real solid dark color tree to work on the mountains. And so I'm just going to lay this one right here. Happy little tree. Oh, look, the clock kind of matches even. And get him. You know what? I think I'm going to use the red side. There's no rule that says I have to use the side that's smooth. It'd be cool if there was a die that actually cut both sides smooth. I know that's impossible, but it'd be cool if there was. And just one more little happy tree, and he's going to go. Where's he going to go? Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to put him. There we go. You could do as many trees as you want too, by the way. So he's gonna be more in the foreground there. So I'm done with all these parts, and we're almost finished with the card here. Let me just clean up my glue. But there's an extra step or so that I want to do. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab my little glue pen, if I can find it. Where are you? I have so many pens and other pen-shaped accessories. The only reason I recognize the glue one is because its little top. Oh yeah, I want to put a sentiment on there. So these are the, got these from Simon Says Stamps. They were, I forgot if I got them as part of a gift or what they were, but they are Tim Holtz little Idea-ology trim tape. And does anybody else have a problem finding the actual end of these things? I can never find it. It's just crazy. There it is. And then by the time you get it pulled up, you've wrinkled part of the edge. But I want to use the whole A Merry Little Christmas, so I'm going to tear off the back portion, and I'll set that aside and save it for something else. And then I'm going to tear it off here. And I'm just going to kind of lay this on here. I don't want it necessarily straight. It just straight doesn't go with the theme of the project. I'm just going to take my brush and just lightly brush over it so it's not white. Now, glue pen and glitter. Here it is without glitter. But changing it up with the glitter makes those mountains really stand out. So I'll show you how I do that. First, I'm going to get a piece of paper because I'm going to be pouring glitter. And this is the Tinsel glitter from Tim Holtz. It was the seasonal we got this year. And here's my little glue pen. And I'm just going to make sure it's actually pouring out glue. Sometimes it gets a little sticky. No pun intended. And I'm going to just draw a line of glue along the edge of this mountain, going up and around the contours of the shapes that are on there. It's not hard to do, but it's hard to see. If you got glue on, the only way you're going to really know is once you start pouring on your glitter. So I'm going to pour some glitter that now, because I haven't experimented to see how long it takes for this glue pen to dry, and I don't want it to dry up on me and get all weird. So there's the top part of that mountain. There's still plenty more to go. So I'm just kind of moving my glitter pile aside, and I'm going to go all the way down every other contour of this mountain. Or set of mountains, or whatever. I want to make sure now I'm not going to get the right hand edge side, because that's where somebody's going to grab the card, and nobody wants to grab glitter accidentally or whatever. And you should see me right now. And that glitter is so fine that I've got, you know, I basically am glitter. Okay, and then I'm going to get that other side down that hill. And there we've got the glitter on there. And it just gives it that extra kick. Almost like it were snow or something. And I'm going to give the trees a little glitter too, but I'm not going to do those the same way. I'm going to dot that. So what I'll do here, and once the glue dries, then I just brush off all the excess glitter, by the way. This is where I usually get glitter everywhere, trying to get this cleaned up. But I've got a huge pile going here, and I need to get it out of my way so I don't have any major accidents. I'm going to pull this back up, and I'm just going to take my glue pen, and I'm just going to put dots on the trees. Just dots. Santa and his reindeer aren't getting any glitter. Just the trees and the mountains. And that's going to be, you know, surrealistic snow or something. I don't know. Just, you know, more embellishment for it, I guess. And it honestly doesn't take long to do. These little pens are terrific. All right, let's go ahead and dump the glitter on. Give it a thump. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty. Love it. All right, let me clean up this glitter mess here. And you see I'm got glitter all over my mat. That's nothing compared to where it is all over me. It was on my face, in my hair, everywhere. Which is why Tim Holtz likes to say glitter is an outdoor activity. And Lisa likes to say glitter is for doing at your sister-in-law's house. But baby wipes clean this up really nicely. So I'm just going to grab a baby wipe and just kind of lay it across there and then wipe up all that glitter. I know people will say a Swiffer, but a Swiffer just gets stuck to this stuff. You need something damp. That cleans it nicely. So there we have it. We've got our little different type Christmas card using our pattern papers and stuff like that. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And if you'd like to know when I record another video, hit that notification bell. Have a good one.